Hello all, and I am back with a Q&A, because I said I would be, and yes, here I am. Don't have as many questions, but some of them are kind of long, and I watched Raw, and I need to get my mind off of Raw, because, yay, we're getting Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk, and then we're getting, it looks like Lord Tensei versus John Cena. And the pay-per-view will probably fail. And guess who will get the blame? Will it be John Cena? It won't be John Cena. It will be the horrible booking. It won't be the horrible booking. We know who the fail will be. Yes, we do. Anyways, let's get started with the questions. Sanders Robin. Yes, Sanders Robin. If you're not subscribed to him, you should be. I'm going to say that right now, but let's get started. Ring of Honor is starting to move all of the New York City shows. Hammerstein Ballroom on Sunday evening. Since they've been doing this, I've noticed the total lack of energy with the actual crowd. The overall union was overpacked for Death Before Dishonor 9, but it was the last great New York show, and the crowd was much more positive during the show. Do you feel it's important for Aries to go back to running shows on Saturday nights in their biggest market? I'd imagine it's a lot tougher to book the Hammerstein on Saturday because of the competition. How would you fix the problem of the disconnect with the product at the Hammerstein? I think one of the issues, this is just from me not being there, that's hard for me to say, but just from people I've talked to, particularly my friend Brian, he would probably be a much better subject on this. But what he's said that he's definitely noticed a change in the crowd since moving to Sundays, which I think is probably was going to happen. Somebody who's going to show up on a Sunday night is not necessarily the same person that's going to show up on a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday evening. It's going to be, you have a chance of getting a different crowd. On top of that, the ticket prices have gone up. That's going to change the crowd as well. I know transportation, if you live actually outside of Manhattan or outside of New York City, has started to become an issue, particularly when they're doing Sundays. And so all of that kind of changes the crowd, I think, to a degree where you're not getting the same crowd you once were. Is it a problem? I don't know, because I think it kind of depends. I mean, the crowd before that was there, you were giving away tickets for the most part. You were drastically discounting tickets. And if you can sell the building and you can get people to buy tickets to the building and not drastically discount tickets, it's hard to say, that they're doing a bad thing, even if the crowd seems lackluster. I mean, yes, you want a hot crowd, but what's more important, having a hot crowd or getting that payday? I mean, you look at the Extreme Reunion show that happened this past weekend. They had one of the, especially for an indie crowd or an indie card, especially for a show that size, they had a huge turnout. Probably pulled in six figures for the gate. Did probably very good business, but of course the show itself sucked ass, and the crowd turned on it immediately. Are they going to be able to do that again? I don't know. And Ring of Honor seems to have been able to, while they're not selling out Hammerstein, which I'm not sure what they would have to do to really do that. They've never done it before. But considering that they are selling the amount of tickets that they are, it's one of those things where kind of, what do you do? I do kind of understand why they moved it to Sunday. They probably thought that, there's less things going on Sunday than there is Saturday. Also, to run the bigger room, they probably had to run Sunday as well, much like he said. So, it's one of those. I think it really depends on, are you getting people, are people still paying? If people stop paying to go on Sunday, then yeah, I think you need to move to Saturday. I think once, and I really do, I think the upcoming, I think Border Wars is really going to be the telltale sign for Ring of Honor. They definitely need to get figure out what they're going to do with the iPay-per-view. We're not that far away from it, and we're still, they still haven't announced what the iPay-per-view is going to be on. If they're going to run it themselves, which they do, that's probably going to be a huge failure, particularly since it's probably going to be I could see it being a show that a lot of people are going to buy, because this is the first, Davey Richards, Kevin Steen match. They have built it up very well, and I think it's really going to depend upon that. That show is maybe the most important Ring of Honor show in a long, long time, as far as where we're going to be able to see where the company is going to go forward. So I think that, you know, that has a lot to do with it. So anyways, I've rambled about that enough. Let's see. How would you fix the tag team division in WWE? Who would you put together and why? I'm not sure who I would put together. I think the big thing is, I think you need, in WWE, if you're going to use both shows, and you're going to use both shows properly, which, you know, WWE has not done in years, probably a good 3 to 4 years, the thing that you have to do is you're going to probably have to have, you know, 8 to 9 tag teams. Out of those 8 or 9 tag teams, you need probably, you know, 3 to 4, what I would call, you know, what you think of as tag teams. The Briscoes, the Kings of Wrestling, Motor City Machines. You need people who people think of as tag teams who have been together for a very long time. What that was. And all of that, and so that you have that people see as tag teams, plus the guys that you just kind of, not, I wouldn't say randomly put together, but younger guys that you put together, a younger guy that you put together with an older guy to get him experience, that sort of thing, you throw in as well. That's the big thing. But to really fix the tag team, you're going to have to probably take 2 main eventers, or guys who are close to the main event, put them on television, put the titles on them, have them have a run, while they have the tag team titles, slowly start building up, excuse me, slowly starting to build up the tag team division, and then eventually have, you know, whichever chosen tag team you want, beat them, have a feud with them, have, you know, the tag team go over, and then the 2 main eventer guys can kind of go their own separate ways. So that's kind of how I would go. Let's see, ECW Hardcore 07. Let's see what Jim wants to talk about. Do you think Noah will be going out of business soon because of all the bad luck they've been having, i.e. the Yakuza stuff? It's more than just the Yakuza stuff. It's lots and lots and lots and lots of bad, just things aren't going well for Noah. You know, I honestly don't. I would kind of be shocked if they're around in a year, to be honest. Now, where does their talent go? That's a good question, and a question I've heard a lot of people talk about. I know a lot of people think they would magically go to Noah. I've talked to people who don't think that's necessarily the case, that there are you know, like, that would go to New Japan. I don't think that's necessarily the case. There are guys who I think people think should probably go to New Japan that I don't necessarily think New Japan would use in the way that people would necessarily imagine they would be used. We could see guys go back to All Japan and, you know, them have a run. But when you don't have TV, when you're not drawing very well, and they're not drawing very well at all, makes it very, very hard. It would be very interesting for them to go out of business and see what would happen. See if, you know, Dragon Gate in Japan would spend the money to bring in some of the Noah guys, and keep them from New Japan, because there is a little bit of bad blood there. So, but yeah, I'd say maybe in a year or so. There you go. Let's see. What are your thoughts on Austin Aries' comments on the current state of ROH, where he said it is now a shell of its former self, and went on to call it Smoky Mountain of Honor? The first thing that I thought of as soon as I heard that was that his contract is up, and it wouldn't be surprised with me if he, you know, sent out feelers to see if they'd be interested, and they said no, and he got pissed off about it. Do I think that, you know, and he said more of this, he talked about, you know, the talent they're there, and he's exactly right, except I would say to him, okay, show me where the talent is. Show me where a guy as talented as Samoa Joe himself, Bryan Danielson, you know, show me the 15 or so guys that were like the core guys for Ring of Honor. Show me where that talent is, and it's not there. It's not there in anywhere in pro wrestling, and then to take away, you know, the Japanese talent as well, you know, that makes it very, very, very different. As my phone goes off, and I guess I got a Twitter message somewhere. But anyways, yeah. So I would say, you know, he's right in some states, but I would also say that, you know, he's probably also a little ticked off, like I said, because it just sounds like a weird time for that statement to come out. The fact that his contract's up, Like I said, he probably did contact Ring of Honor, and Ring of Honor said they didn't really want him, or probably maybe didn't want to pay him the money that they felt like they were going to have to pay him, would be more of what I would think. But I don't know, so that's just me speculating. There we go. Let's see. Sin City Vet 89 said he had a few questions. Seeing that the WWE has a huge Hispanic following, and excuse me, and they pushed a multitude of Mexican wrestlers before the success, such as Eddie, Ray, Alberto Del Rio. Do you think they could have the same success with Asian champions? I do think they could have the same success. They would have to want to. There are definitely guys in Japan that I think they could bring over and would be huge stars if they were willing to pay them money. It's one of the things I get really frustrated with WWE, because basically they could handpick anyone they wanted and bring in anybody they wanted. They don't use managers, which when you got guys that don't speak English, you need a mouthpiece, and since they don't use managers, that kind of negates that, because you could bring in a guy like Adam Pearce and put him with a guy like Tanahashi and maybe a few other guys that, and it'd probably be a pretty good little stable. So there you go. What is your opinion of the WWE Network and their overall product altogether? They haven't done anything yet. So far, it doesn't really do anything for me. So there you go. Could you see yourself subscribing to their channel? Do you think it's going to be a good move for them? I don't, not right now, because they keep pushing it back. It sounds like a horrible idea. If you've read anything on it, it sounds like it's just kind of destined to fail, which is not a good thing at all. Because they're putting a lot of money into this, and yeah, there you go. Let's see. I'm missing part of the question. Oh, I think this was about. Now my phone goes off again. Let's see. For example, WWF Invasion with the should there be storyline pay-per-views? Is I believe what he's asking. For example, WWE Invasion with the Alliance storyline and WWE One Night Stand, the first one, the second one too. Both of these pay-per-views involve the entire roster in the story instead of having individual feuds, and the matchups made sense. They didn't just have to throw two people together in order to fill up the card. Would WWE be better off doing their pay-per-views in that way? Your thoughts? Not overall storylines, because I think when you start doing big, massive storylines that involve everybody in the same storyline, I don't think that necessarily works. But if you're talking about everybody having, a storyline leading up to their matches, and that everybody, and that they build up every match on the pay-per-view leading up to the pay-per-view, instead of having random matches on the pay-per-view, yes. Instead of waiting, talking and announcing matches on the internet, yes. Having all of your matches announced maybe 2 weeks before the pay-per-view, yes. I think that's what you need. I think everybody needs a storyline. I think everybody, you need a reason to care about all of these matches. They don't give you reasons to care for these matches. It makes the pay-per-view suffer because of it. So yeah, there we go. Let's see. Slayer in the WWE. If the WWE folded tomorrow, what do you think the state of the wrestling would be in the country 5 years from now? Would it be dead? Would TNA be in the lead dog by default, or would it go back to the territory days? I think it would be dead, to be honest. I think that TNA might be around for a while, but I don't see anything being bigger than TNA. WWE fold tomorrow would be pretty bad, to be honest, for pro wrestling, not just in this country, but everywhere, because they are so much bigger than everybody else around the world that it would not be a good thing whatsoever. Let's see. NXT appears to be on its way out. What would you do to it or in its place, or would you get rid of the C brand entirely? I wouldn't get rid of the C brand. I would just replace it with FCW. That's what I would do, but that's just me. What do I know? Do you think there will ever be another celebrity who gets the business as well as Andy Kaufman did? I'm sure there will be at some point if you can get the right guy. You have to get somebody. I think you have to get a comedian, someone who has done. I think someone who does stand up and who does stand up in a particular way and can manipulate the crowd. I think that would get the basics of pro wrestling, and if you can get the basics of pro wrestling, I think you definitely do what Andy Kaufman did. I really do. It'd have to be, the stars would have to align correctly. The stars aligned it right with Andy Kaufman, so you need the right story. You would need all of that stuff to work. But I definitely think that, yeah, it definitely could work if given the opportunity. But anyways, that is that. So with that, I'm out. Everybody, have a good one. Hopefully, I will be back. Send me more questions. I will answer them as best as I can. And with that, I'm out.